My problem with assisted suicide lies in the name.
In what?
The name. Assisted suicide. Why should we be helping people to commit suicide? I don't get it. I don't think you should ever kill yourself. That is my thing.
Oh, so that's your position.
Yes. I do not
see.
think you should ever kill yourself.
I see.
I'm coming from a belief that every life is sacred. That's just my belief.
Sure.
Right? So that's why I'm not for it. I want to ask you a question. You seem to is it correct to say that you think that assisting suicide is a virtue in some cases, or is a good thing in some cases?
Well, I have to make myself absolutely clear in
Please.
the beginning that if I'm just taking a hypothetical example, in a hypothetical scenario, if I'm going to kill myself, then at least I'm deliberately allowing someone, in that case, myself, to kill myself. So if I cannot even empower myself to do that action, why should I empower someone else to deliver that action? I would argue that my will.
I think that's
exactly the point I was making.
I think you're in agreement on that.
No. The point is, I think what you miss, I would say what I disagree with you is not every life is sacred.
You don't believe every life is sacred?
I would say, for instance, my life is not.
That's a very dark thing to say.
Well,
should we get you? Should we?
The better question is what life then is sacred?
A sacred life is a life that is that could be immortalized.
That could be mortalized?
Okay. Yes.
This is the old Greek idea of the immortal heroes and.
But I just want to talk about the assisted suicide stuff.
Wait. Can you just back up? Do you really not believe that your life is sacred?
No, I do not think I'm.
Wait. Was it that it could be immortalized, or that it already is immortalized?
It has a potentiality, I would say.
Well, then your life will also.
Then your life is sacred.
Because it has the potentiality of being immortalized.
I want to focus on the problem of the assisted suicide, because I think for the one who should deliberately will to deliver that act should be the one who wills most. And therefore I would say there's no assisted suicide, but if you want to have a dignified life, and also I would say basic human rights, of course, to live with dignity, but also to die with dignity. But how to die with dignity, most people actually misunderstood. The most dignified way is to kill yourself, that to cut your throat, and that is the most perfect way.
Why? Tell me why.
Well, I don't know what I don't think there is a dignified way.
But you're empowering yourself. And if you even cannot empower yourself, why do you want to put your belief and your trust on someone else?
No, but you said that killing yourself is the most dignified way of dying.
Yes.
Why?
Because you know.
Some would say that's an act of weakness.
No. It's
you're not willing to face the life ahead of you.
It's only because you have already know that the life in front of you is to deliver that honorable action, and you have the power to, and you have the will to empower yourself, not anyone else. So actually, it's a very dignified in a twofold way. One is
you're giving up on your life. How is it dignified?
Because in some scenario, that your life cannot be continued in a dignified way.
Well, I think the question isn't even really about dignity, but if you guys insist on talking about it, we could. I personally don't think the question of the sanctity of life is to do with whether it's dignified to die or not. I think you can die in a dignified way. You can also live in a dignified way. But I don't think that's even the question that we're talking about here.
I don't understand. Why is killing yourself more dignified than dying either trying to save somebody or trying or of natural causes? Why is killing yourself, taking your life earlier, more dignified.
Because we are talking about assisted suicide.
No, you said that killing yourself is the most dignified way of dying.
For instance, I know.
The most.
I know. For instance, I'm just taking an example. Now I have brain cancer, and I know my life won't last for more than 2 months. In that case,
you know that you can predict the future.
Well, not me, but according to those scientific facts that the doctors told me that I cannot live more than 2 months.
I have a family member. He's not blood, but he's by marriage. Who they told him he had 3 months to live. He went back to the island that he's from in Greece and lived another 40 years.
That's a very beautiful story, but alas, I would say life is life. That is the miracle, but it is not the case for the majority.
Well, I don't know if we have that statistic, to be fair.
I'm talking
about. But you just said that you know for certain that you will die.
I'm just talking about for those people in permanent illness.
Yeah.
That if they want assisted suicide, that is, if they want someone else to help them to end their life, the first person they want should be themselves. They should empower themselves, have the will strong enough to deliver the action by themselves, not by someone else. That's the point what I want to make.
I agree with you on that. If you're going to kill yourself, you should not get help to do it.
Yeah, I think you guys agree on that. He's just saying that you shouldn't kill yourself in the first place.
Yes. But do you really stand by that you think that killing yourself is the most dignified way of dying?
Of course.
Why? Do you agree with that?
Do I agree with that? I mean, like I said, I don't think the whole question of dignity is even relevant to me. I think that's
okay. The most virtuous way of dying.
Well, no. If you talk about morality and an ethical system, I don't know
an
ethical system that suggests that.
I think so. I didn't.
Really? What about the people in the life that are still alive who care about you and love you are going to be deeply saddened by the fact that you take your life early and the grief that you're causing for them?
Well, if there's a call, then all you can do is follow the call.
What? I literally didn't understand what you just said.
I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure that if I'm going to die naturally, then at the very end of my life, I know I won't live for another period of time. At least I know I can't live for another 1 or 2 or 10 years of time. So in that case, I'm empowering myself to face a certain end of my life, and I have the courage and the dignity to face that point.
Some would say you lack the courage to keep living.
I'm saying that when I'm in permanent illness, I know, even dying naturally, I know at one point my life is going to end at that one point. You agree with me on that?
My life is going to end at one point regardless of whether or not I have a terminal illness.
Of course. But when you have a terminal illness and you know your life is going to be end very soon.
You know, I don't think you know. I know that 2 + 2 is 4. I do not know that I'm going to die at that certain time.
Of course. I mean, based on those past experience and those scientific evidence, you use your reason inductively.
Okay, sure. Even if you do know.
Yes, thank
Even
you.
if you do know.
Yes.
To me, I know people in my life who, even if they knew that they were going to die in 6 months, 3 months, whatever, I would want those 3 months left with them. I would be totally broken if they took their lives early.
Then it is still a very dignified way.
Why?
Because you have the courage and because you can face the reality. That's it.
No, the reality is to live out those 3 months and, die according to somebody else's will.
I don't want to make this conversation I don't want to mystify this conversation.
I would say the whole issue of dignity for me, I don't see its relevance.
Okay,
However,
virtue.
if we are to, I have never understood the case to be made that you're going out on your own terms. I mean, everybody's gonna go out not on their own terms. I'm pretty sure if anybody ever had like I think it's just it's like some sort of coping mechanism to say that you're gonna get there. It's kind of like I'm not gonna fail. I'm gonna fail intentionally at the exam, and therefore I've not really failed because I did it on my own terms. I think that's
point.
I think that's kind of a ridiculous point in general. I don't think that's a positive way of doing anything.
I love that point, actually. That is a great analogy. It's like, oh, I try and I failed. But if I just
Right, if I get to the failure before life puts me there, then then I've controlled it. But like when people say I don't want the terminal illness to dictate it to me, I think you can obviously I sympathize with them as much as I could, but because I've not had the terminal illness, that's what I mean. But it's again, it's not like everybody's gonna die at some point, one way or the other. In some cases, obviously, it's more drastic and more tragic, you can say, than other cases. But I don't really see that mentality as fully making sense. I think the better argument is obviously the one about suffering and not being a desirable existence and prolonging someone's suffering actually being a bad thing. I think you can make that case in those extreme cases which we were talking about. But then again, when you make that case, the whole question of how to implement it practically comes along, and then this article lays out, I think, the problems with the practical implication of that.
Yeah, I agree that if there is an argument for it, the personal suffering is the best argument.
Yeah, I think actual proper pain and suffering that you're continually enduring is an actual thing that we need to confront.
Yeah,
and that might put some of these questions to us. But I'm not convinced by a dignity or getting there first and controlling your own fate. I don't think you control your own fate. In that respect, I mean, nobody does it in the case of death.
Sometimes you can just foresee your fate, like that's a time point for you to end your life.
To be honest, I have no clue about the future. I am completely clueless when it comes to the future.
Well, I think even if you could see the future, like let's say, like they tell you when you're gonna die, I'm not gonna kill myself before that happens in order to prove wrong the person who prophesied that I'm gonna die. Then it's more likely what my reaction would be is to live the fullest life possible, knowing that at this age I'm actually gonna die. I'm gonna try and get everything I want to do done by that time. I'm gonna try and enjoy everything I want to enjoy done by that time. My reaction would not be to preemptively kill myself in order to prove to myself my own free will.
No,
mainly because that kind of thing normally actually goes back
to will, but disprove your free will by the very fact that you can kill yourself, because you know that's your fate.
How about proving yourself by living longer than what everybody says you're going to live?
I would say before we.
That's a completely valid point. Yeah, maybe you're going to try and survive the experience. I mean, that's a completely valid
point. I just
point.
Want to say that for fireworks, the point is not about how long it lasts, but about how beauty it could be.
How beauty it could be.
Well, I think that goes more to our point than
how
yours.
Beautiful it could be. So when we are just imagine our life is like fireworks. We won't think, well, it's the fireworks that last for 1 hour. No, 1 hour's fireworks is boring. Who would like to smoke for 1 hour? Oh my God, there's smoking, smoking smell. Why do we like flowers? Why do we like fireworks? Why do we like those beautiful stuff? It's because they perish. It's because we value them by how beautiful they are, not by how long they could last.
Sure, but I don't think we value them because they perish on their own volition, right?
Of course, but they know that one day they will be perished, and same for human beings.
Well, they don't know anything because they're not like conscious.
Really, well, I'm just using this analogy to say that's the same.
And by the way, they come back in spring.
Of course, there are people who's going to.
So they don't give up when they're knocked down. They rise back up.
Yeah, I think these analogies, like I said at the beginning, are kind of not really gonna get anyone anywhere because I think people have different intuitions about these sorts of things and what's dignity and not dignity. But